Hello, all, and welcome to the Fantasy and Sci-Fi Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Coolbaugh. Today, I have with me a very special guest, Pierlot. Seal, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm pretty good. I haven't messed up my intro in like 11 interviews, but I knew it was coming because I was coaching a lot today, and yesterday we just started the season, so I knew this was going to be the day. So
It's always the roll of the dice, right?
it really is, and today I rolled a 2. So I really want to thank you for coming on today. I was really happy when Caroline, messaged me. I was like, yeah, you send me any author. And I always say that on Twitter, and I try to blast it on social media. I'm like, I met some really cool friends that way. And I'm like, I'll interview anybody anytime as long as they're talking about fantasy, sci-fi, supernatural, horror, paranormal. Like, as long as it's not fiction, no offense to anybody. I live my normal life too much. I'm like, that's what my kids always ask, like, Mr. Kubo, why don't you write fiction? I'm like, it's boring to me. I'm like, give me some sort of magic or, something. So
You want that
anytime.
good genre stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like that's why people keep coming back to it. So yeah. All right. So we're going to start right in with that first question, which for me is a favorite. I know our fans really enjoyed as well. I get a lot of good feedback from it. What has your writing journey been like up until this point?
Well, I actually started writing in middle school and I was writing really bad anime fan fiction.
That's awesome.
So I did that for a few years in middle school. I kind of stopped writing when I was in high school, mostly because high school is a pit of despair.
That's
Uh,
fair. That's why I
you
teach
know
middle
how it
school.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then I had a year off. I took like a gap year. And I actually studied in Tokyo for a while
Oh, that's
during
cool.
that gap year. Um, and I started playing video games again because I finally had a computer that could handle video games. Like the
Mhm.
graphics were finally good enough. And I played a bunch of video games. I ended up getting back into other media that I used to be into, very specifically Lord of the Rings. Um, and I was like, I gotta write fan fiction for this again. I gotta get back into that. So I did. I started writing fan fiction again back in 20 start of 2016, like February, January 2016. Um, and then I just literally never stopped writing. And in 2018, I wrote a fan fiction that was like a 4 different fandom crossover,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
like half the cast were original characters anyway, and the cast that were like canon characters bore no resemblance to their canon counterparts. So I finished it, and then I was like, "This isn't even fan fiction anymore. What the fuck is this?" So I did the thing where you like scrub the serial numbers off and um, change details and everything. There were not many details that needed changing, let me tell you. It was so completely removed from anything that I based it off of. Um, and that was the first thing I queried. I queried that. I wrote that in spring of 2018. I queried it in fall of 2018. Um, it didn't have any takers, in part because it had vampires in it, and vampires just weren't selling. Thanks, Twilight.
Yeah.
Uh, but I met my agent when I was pitching that, and she read it and she liked it, but she was like, it's not going to sell. There's no way I'm going to sell it. So spring of 2019, I started writing my next book, which was Bluebird, and that never even had any fan fiction, roots. That was
Mm.
just original straight from the start. And yeah, finished that in 2019. I ended up just sending it straight to my current agent, and yeah, got my signed on with my agent 2020, like March 25th of 2020, and then I got my book deal on like March 25th of 2021. So March is just it's just my book day now.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm assuming that every other book event that happens to me in my life is just going to be around March 25th. Like, I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been my journey.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. It's so funny where you're saying like scraping the serial numbers off. Like I totally did that myself. Like I love Forgotten Realms, and I used to like they used to have a contest for Wizards of the Coast where like you could like write a story. It's like so much, and it was basically like querying, and you would try to pitch it to them, and then if they liked it, they would actually like have you on for one book deal. So I
Oh,
would
that's
always,
so cool.
I know, right? I wish they still did that. And unfortunately, they're not making like, they're not publishing books anymore. But like that's where I started writing, like in middle school. Like I was writing other things, but I like that. So then, like in college, I had went back to it, and I like did that. I scraped the serial numbers off and like changed things and made it new. And I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. So I definitely know that feeling. It's funny that you said that because I tell that to people all the time, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like the only one that writes fan fiction. I'm like, seriously?
What?
Like,
Pretty like okay, I have met so many people through the realm of fan fiction, both people who read my fan fiction and
oh, that's
people whose
cool.
fan fiction like we edit each other's work.
Oh, that's
Um
cool.
yeah, but I'm kind of like deep into fandom, which is a bit cringe. But it's where I am, man. It's where
Yeah.
I am.
So I have to ask. So you mentioned Lord of the Rings. Did you write fan fiction for Lord of the Rings then? Because I want to
I
do that
wrote
now. It sounds awesome.
I wrote some stuff, but I never published it. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
short little bits that I kind of just wrote for
Oh,
myself.
that's cool.
Um yeah. Yeah, I mostly wrote video game stuff, but I did write
Oh, that's cool.
some anime things. I wrote, yeah, it used to be more anime. I was pretty cringe. It was, yeah, those were dark days for me. Writing bad Inuyasha fan fiction on Quizilla, not even fanfiction.net, Quizilla.
I forgot about Quizilla.
Everyone forgot about Quizilla, but
That's really funny. Oh, that's
those
awesome.
were my roots.
That's awesome. Well, I discussed that with a friend because we talked about um Nicholas LaRue. I just our last interview, and him and I talked about doing like some Kindle Vella short stories and doing like a serialized version of basically like Firefly fan fiction, but
Oh,
in
hell
our
yeah.
own in this setting that I had created. But it's essentially like Firefly. That's if you need any more than that, then this is the wrong channel for you guys. But yeah, but he was like, oh, we're just gonna write like Firefly fan fiction and then just like scrape off the serial numbers and go from there. And I'm like, yeah, you never know. Maybe people will like it. But yeah, that's
Oh, I
awesome.
mean, hell yeah. Like, I
Yeah,
always encourage that shit.
yeah. Yeah, I've read some really good fan fiction recently and met a lot of people that like sent me different things over the last couple years. And my friend is like, you gotta get back into this. I'm like, I know, I like missed the fan fiction boat for some reason. But now that you just said Lord of the Rings fan fiction, I'm like, kind of want to do that now. Sounds awesome. All right. Well, with that second one there, so I'm really excited about this one. So, what is your book Bluebird about, and how did you come up with this idea?
So, Bluebird is about our plucky protagonist. That's not a great way of describing her, but I like the alliteration. Um, so, her name is Rig, and in the universe she lives in, basically three factions control the entire galaxy. And she used to be a weapons developer for one of these factions. Very good at her job, but at a certain point, she realized that it was actually incredibly fucked up, and she should not do that anymore. So she basically stole her plans for like a weapon of mass destruction and escaped her faction. And so we pick up 3 years after she's done that,
Oh, that's cool.
and she's like joined a rebel group. She's doing the whole like kind of Han Solo Firefly thing. um and she has a girlfriend at that point, who is still part of her faction. And when the book starts, spoilers, it's like chapter 2. Chapter 2 spoilers. She meets this like mysterious bounty hunter, and they end up having to be on the road together for a bit. And then she finds out that like she gets contacted by her former faction, and they're basically like, hey, we have your twin sister, give us back these weapon plans, or she dead. And so the book is about Rig trying to save her sister, not let these weapons of mass destruction fall into the enemy's hands, and cause as much trouble as she can along the way. So very found family shenanigans, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. Once I saw your book. I can't remember who had shared it with me first, so it was kind of ironic that Caroline, like, I didn't even know that you were on her list, and when she said it to me, because it was like 2 days before, and I was like, oh, this sounds really good, so I saved it. Um, I always do that on my phone. I screenshot things that I want to save for later, and then I go back on the Kindle later. So it's so funny because I was like, oh, that's really, I saw your name. I was like, yes, please. I was like, that sounds awesome. So how did you come up with this idea?
Oh gosh, so I've just always really liked sci-fi, but I like the sort of sci-fi that's not really hard science,
Yeah,
because I'm bad at science and
ditto.
following along. So like, what's the term, like soft sci-fi or something?
So
So yeah, I
yeah,
actually
glad to
came
make
up.
it. Yeah.
I came up with the character of Rig first because she has she fights using like two guns, very like pew pew, and I just had this idea of like a character who used two guns, and the guns are named Panache and Pizzazz.
Oh, I like that.
And I had this idea for a very like stereotypical D&D bard, like, you know, very like roll to seduce, shenanigan heavy, very critical role, I guess. Type of character. So I just kind of created Rig and then sort of evolved the story from there. Like, what would I want to see this character go through? And I thought it'd be pretty cool to have this character who's, you know, sort of a cracking jokes, definitely has some fucked up backstory, but is always really actively optimistic. Like somebody who wakes up every morning and is like, I will see the best in people, and that is a threat. And I just wanted to see, you know, what would be interesting conflicts to throw her way, and then everything kind of evolved from there.
Yeah, just I don't know. When I read the blurb for the first time, I was just like, that sounds awesome. um, I really got along with her character instantly. She did remind me when I read that of like a female Scanlan with two like twin barrel
Right?
guns. And I was like, yes, please again, because he's my favorite character. So I don't
Yeah,
know if that says it about me, but
I just finished the animated thing
oh,
on like what as much as it's out. It was amazing. I loved it. 10
okay,
out of
I'm on.
10.
I think I'm on
Not gonna
episode 12.
lie, I definitely have a thing for Percy. I will admit that they animated him so well,
Oh
and
yeah,
I'm just a sucker for that kind of thing.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that's a whole different thing.
yeah. I like my friend. He was like, okay. He goes, so you get so I just was really busy this week because I started coaching another sport and I'm helping with another one and trying to write at the same time and teach. So I was like, yeah, unfortunately that took a back burner. He's like, so you got 9, 10, and 11 done, and then you wait for 12. I was like, listen, it was life. It wasn't me. I was like, but man, I have to say, like 9, 10, 11 had to be some of the best, like just television or script, doesn't matter, cartoon or live action that I've ever seen. I mean, it was just awesome. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but there was some cool stuff that happened in those episodes. So I'm definitely excited to get caught up this week now that things are kind of calmed down a little bit. But
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
very excited for a season 2.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's also kind of nice too, because like, I was thinking of, like books like yours. I'm like, man, that would make a really cool anime like cartoon, just like Critical Role. And I like the Masters of the Universe, the Revelations too. I liked how they did, particularly the two female characters in that one, where they like kind of go off and then they have to like save everybody and do everything. And they just had a great relationship. And they particularly reminded me of like your main character and like that whole thing. So I was like, oh, that just sounds really cool. So you should like definitely tell Netflix to get on it and to start producing your show because it just
Oh, I
sounds
mean,
awesome.
I have so many like because I'm also a digital artist. So when I
Oh, that's
write, I
cool.
imagine everything in my head as like a comic or a TV show or a movie, like very sort of not just what would this room look like, but like what would the camera angle here be? What
Oh,
would like
cool.
the special effects be? What would the lighting be? Um, so that's always in my head when I write. So I have like I would probably be horrible to work with if I ever got some kind of like film deal, because I would be like, no, 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 it has to be exactly like this. I know I've never directed a film before, but like I would be horrible to work with.
Yeah,
Nobody work with me. I would
yeah,
be
yeah.
a nightmare.
You got to come in from this side and pan this way.
Exactly. I would be that person where you have to like constantly slap my hands away from it.
That sounds very similar to like what Brandon Sanderson was saying. He goes, I actually ended up just giving my friend Mistborn. He's like, and now he goes, then I gave him Mistborn for the screenplay. He goes, well, we'll just share the screenplay rights. And he's like, And then now people are starting to be interested. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So maybe that's something you could think about, is doing that. I thought about doing that with a friend of mine, because he's way better at screenplays than I am. So yeah, it's just awesome. I just thought that your main character, I just thought she sounded really cool. I just pictured her in like her own comic or something like that, and I was just like, yeah, like I just picture you having like all sorts of cartoons and like Saturday
Oh, I mean,
cereal and action
yeah,
figures and
like
stuff like
one of the
that.
first things I did when I was coming up with this is I did like character concept sheets for like the four main characters.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm not ever going to post them anywhere online because they are old art and they are bad. And the designs have substantially changed since then.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's always helpful, I feel like, to like, I just save art all the time. I like originally wanted to be an illustrator, and then now like my friend, he's like, well, you can always just do your own. I'm like, no, I'm out of practice. But I was like, I still have an eye for it, where I'm like, oh, that's a really cool angle, or something like that. Like I feel like Felix and Ortiz and like Sean King are really good about that. Like I really like some of their angles, or their lighting or their coloring or something. So I save stuff like that all the time, just because like Ben Galley's newest one, like his newest book, like the colors like just amazed me, and it really made me think of like my own writing in a different way. And I definitely feel like art. I'm definitely a visual writer, so I definitely agree with you there. Like if I see something in it, I'll just keep it if it evokes me wanting to write. So
oh yeah, I mean, I recently, it was like a couple months ago, did like concept art for Rig, like how I would do it if I was doing like, video game concept art or like film concept art.
oh, that's
Like I just
cool.
decided to fuck around and do that.
Those are my favorite kind of art too, because everybody's always like, I'm just gonna trash it, but then it ends up be like the Star Wars concept art was like the coolest
Oh, it's
art.
so
Same with
cool.
Lord of the
It's
Rings. Like,
amazing.
yeah, I love that stuff. I always love when they release that. Like, there's a lot of things that I just get out of it, and a lot of times the characters are just as cool as the ones that they actually, like came out, like were the finished product. So for me, I like seeing their thought process, I guess. Like, and
Oh, I love that. I
just
absolutely
yeah,
love like seeing the like where it started and where it
yeah,
ended.
yeah,
I love that shit.
yeah. It's awesome. Definitely evokes a lot of ideas for me. So you said science fiction, all right? Like, well, why science fiction? Why did you decide on science fiction?
Um, well, I mean, to be honest, it's kind of like science fiction fantasy because there is some just like uh fantasy stuff in there.
Even
Um,
better. That's my favorite type of
yeah,
science
right.
fiction.
But I mean, like I've always really liked the sort of Firefly, Star Wars. I think I did a TikTok a while ago that's like, like, oh, you'll like Bluebird if, and I think I was like, you'll like Bluebird if you liked Guardians of the Galaxy, but specifically did not like Chris Pratt. And that is that's definitely also kind of an inspiration thing there. Um, but I've always just liked that kind of stuff. I like the um, yeah, I don't know. I like the vibes.
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
I always like settings where there's just so much wild and crazy shit you can do.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
feel like sci-fi fantasy, there's kind of unlimited potential in how much weirdness you can get
Yeah,
away
yeah, yeah.
with.
No, totally. Like the not the Star Wars version, Galaxy's Edge, but it's co-written by these two authors that I read a while back, but they're really great books. But like the first one was like a marine style thing, and these like roughneck or starship troopers type of guys on this planet. Well, then the next one, it was really cool because it literally was like Star Wars. It was fantasy and sci-fi mix, and I was like, they went onto this planet, and it was like this old guy who was part of this other group, like remembers being on this planet and fighting through like this horde of like almost like Starship Troopers, like a queen and everything, and just like this all this crazy stuff on these ziggurats. And it was really neat. And I was like, you literally can do anything that you really want in that genre if you do it right. And it was done really
You
well.
really
And
can.
yeah, it really made me more interested in writing science fiction, to be honest, because I was like, oh, I thought you had to do like sci-fi or hard sci-fi. And I like how you said like soft sci-fi. And I feel like I'd fall more into that category because I'm not a great scientist at all. And
I'm so bad at science. I'm really lucky that there's some like sort of medical drug stuff in Bluebird. Not a
Okay.
lot, but just a little. And I'm really lucky that my stepdad works in the pharmaceutical business because there was definitely like a time where I was like, "Hey, I want a drug that has like these kind of effects. What the heck am I doing?" And he was like, "Oh, here's a couple types of drugs that like would, do the same thing." I was like, "Oh, thank God, I can take one of those and then like sci-fi up the name."
Yeah, yeah.
Phew.
That is awesome. That's awesome. I've been trying to find somebody for Roman, like, military tactics for that.
Oh
Um,
man.
I'm like, I know writing my rough draft, so I have this, like, Roman Ninth Legion that it's, gets lost in real life. Well, I'm gonna have it because of zombies, and then I'm gonna have the remaining troop become, like, monster hunters, essentially, as they're trying to get back to
Oh, that's
Rome.
awesome.
Yeah, so, but I'm like, my friend, he goes, "Well, is this right?" I go, "It doesn't matter." I'm like, "I'm gonna find a military," you know what I mean? I'm like, "I'm gonna find somebody from that time period, or, who knows what they're doing." Like, I teach history, but it's different, like, that kind of history, and, I was like, "I'm just gonna give it to somebody and let them, F with it and then fix it after." But, like, I like that you're finding, I'm like, I always want that. I'm like, I need to find somebody who knows Native American mythology. And no, there's nobody
Yeah.
ever on Twitter. And I'm like, well, I need to know somebody that, is really good at Japanese, culture. Nobody gets back to me on Twitter. So I'm like,
Oh
I
yeah,
need more
see,
friends.
I I have a friend who's like former Marines, so there
Oh,
have
that's
definitely been
awesome.
times I've been like, "Hey, how the fuck would this military thing work?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would totally pay your friend just to help me with my, no, just the military aspect, because I feel weird like asking my friends that are veterans, because a lot of them, like, I'm like, you guys don't read sci-fi or like fantasy. I'm like, seriously? Like, and it's like, but I always like know, like, hear other people like that that's a big with, the military crowd or the veteran crowd. And I'm like, particularly, like, military sci-fi. And I'm like, well, I'm like, I really want my tactics to be, granted it's Roman military, but I'm like, even like, when they're in small group tactics and stuff, I'm like, I want it to feel real, particularly for, like, I would like to appeal to the veteran audience and be like, oh, this is pretty cool stuff, like that's what we would do, or, or something like that. But I feel like it's hard to find those types of beta readers at times, but that's
It can
good
be
that you know
difficult,
somebody.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I get lucky in that I'll just know people. Again, fandom, you meet the
Yeah.
weirdest fucking people. Just
That's, I've
like
been all over
it's
TikTok. I'm like,
amazing. Yeah.
follow friend. I'm like, hey, that's really cool. Just in the event that I could like ask a question and somebody will, like actually respond. But yeah, that's awesome. That's what I was telling my friend yesterday. I said, I think I just need more friends. That way, they'll actually know what. My one friend is like, what crazy rating question do you have today? I'm like, you don't even want to know. For that fourth one there, so what steps did you take when creating these characters, or what steps do you take in developing new characters?
So I'll generally start with kind of like a God, I hate that I keep using the word vibe, but I'll generally start with a vibe of what I want from the character. Like like what I want their personality to be like, what I think would be an interesting struggle for them.
Mm,
Um, and I do kind of go from there. If I also really like how characters will interact with each other. There have definitely been times where um, generally not generally this stuff doesn't end up in the final product. It's just like practice or
mm.
like a writing exercise. But there have definitely been times where it's like I'm just going to write a scene with these two characters in a situation and just see where they go, see what they talk about, see what, shake them around and see what falls out. Like I definitely take a very free form approach
Mm.
when I'm creating characters. I generally don't want to try and be like, "Oh, well, I wanna write sci-fi, so let me Google sci-fi, like, traditional sci-fi characters, and then pick one, and then be like, okay, I'll check off these boxes." Um, like, I generally try to yeah, just try to do something really organic and just kinda see where it goes from there.
I like how you said that though, where you start with the struggle. I don't think a lot of people think of it like that way, but it makes total sense, right? Because if they're not having struggles, it's not a very good story, and whether they're internal or external, or, you know, I definitely think that's a good way to put it. And I really like that actually. I'm gonna actually think about that more when I go to my writing later. Like, what's this person's struggle? Like, are they struggling? If they're
Because
not struggling, what's the
all
point? Like,
Yeah, I mean, all good stories have to have a conflict of some
yeah, yeah,
kind, or else it's just there is kind of nothing going on. So
yeah.
I always like to think about like what would this character find particularly hard, like what would really hit them. So like with Rig, because she's very she has like a strong connection to like found family and like just her family in general. I was like, oh, her sister being in danger
Mm,
is the thing that would make her like panic. Um, and because she's kind of like a smash and grab type of character. I was like, okay, the thing that would be hardest for her to fight would be like spies, like people who really work on the
mm.
down low,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who aren't in the open. Um, so I just kind of picked things that I thought would be hard for her to deal with, and
Mm.
like went from there.
Yeah, it sounds like a much better story having to use your weaknesses. That's why, like personally, like I really liked Iron Man 3 because he didn't have he didn't have the suit. You know, he had to actually use his intelligence, and he couldn't just barrel through everybody. He had to actually be smart about it. I thought it was a lot better story that way. I know some people don't like those kinds of things, but again, I do like how you said, it's about the struggle. So, and looking back at like oh like the Dark Knight Rises, the third one, like that one was so great, I think, because like Christian Bale got his butt kicked by Bane and then had to come in and, you know, again, had to be smarter and, do different things. And the struggle I thought was just awesome when he comes out of the pit and they're like chanting like Ishi Ishi Basa. I mean, it was just like, it was amazing, and of course the music was awesome. But yeah, I really, thinking back on it, I like that movie so much because of the struggle. And I think the new Spider-Man movie, same way. I don't know if you've ever seen Dark Matter, but Rig actually reminds me a lot of the main female protagonist in that TV show. It's amazing. And she, as soon as I was reading your blurb, I thought this is the perfect character, like matchup for me, at least in my head. And she's just amazing. And, but yeah, she has a lot of the same types of struggles, it sounds like. But yeah, I'll have to send it to you. It's a great show.
Yeah,
It's on Netflix. It's good.
I haven't seen that, but I'll add that one to my list.
It's great on a writing aspect too. So this crew, I think there's like six of them. There's like five or six of them. It's been a couple years, but they I binged it all during like COVID and everything, but like lockdown. But like they wake up on their ship and they can't remember anything, so they have to piece together like yeah.
Oh.
And it's like really, I guess it's based off of a book. And I really want to read the book, so I'm sure the book's better. But yeah, the show like up until the last season was amazing. So I haven't quite finished last season, but she's like a really great character. She ends up being like the one that like pilots the ship, and I don't know, she's just got an amazingly cool story. But as soon as I read your description for Bluebird, I was like, that's this character. And yeah, it definitely, like her character on Dark Matter, like definitely, like now I'm looking for other characters like her because she's my favorite on there, and I just felt like they did a really great job writing her. And yeah, I was like, yeah, give me more characters like her. That just sounds awesome. So
Oh, I mean, I think always when you find a character you really like, there's kind of that desire to seek out stuff in a like similar genre of character,
yeah,
similar
yeah, yeah.
type of character.
Yeah, and I mean,
I mean, I
sometimes it could be
definitely have
hard.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, sometimes it can be really fucking hard, but I always like that. So.
yeah, 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 no, totally. Well, like recently, I mean, I was reading a couple books, like same thing, where it was like, there's this one type of character. I was like, oh, I really, and I think that's where I've struggled by reading recently. Is like, I just am in a mood for one type of character, and I haven't been able to find them, so I've kind of moved on a little bit, but I'm still kind of looking for that would be one character in particular. I'm like, oh, give me something like that. I'm good. And there's like two other groups, but yeah, it's like a menu, right? Like I'm in the hankering for a burger, like,
Yeah.
or somewhere else. I'm like, no, I want a burger. Might not be doing a lot that day, but yeah, that's awesome. For that fifth one, so I'm really interested in this one. I liked what you said so far about characters and creations, and especially the struggle. So, what are some tools or rules you follow when it comes to your world building?
So generally what I'll do with world building is, again, I'm a very freeform writer, and with world building that doesn't always work.
Yeah.
But with world building, I'll kind of come up with ideas that I think are cool. Like, oh man, it'd be really sweet if I had like, a place that was like this, or like, some kind of societal system like this. So I'll just come up with like a list of everything I think is really cool. And then I'll kind of sort that into piles. Like, oh, what kind of cool stuff would go here? What would work together? What stuff is just stupid in hindsight that I can't keep? And I'll use that as a base. Um, yeah, and I also generally tend to think about uh because I write, God, what's the term, like limited point of view. So even though I write in third person, it's very much
Mm.
in the one character's head. You see what the character sees, you hear their internal monologue. So I generally think about, well, what would this character know? Like, if, like I'm writing Rig, so she's very much, on the wrong side of the law. So I'm like, okay, so she would know about like the shitty things that these factions are doing, like their mistakes, their flaws. She would know, how to fix up her spaceship, how to work with technology. Um, but if you asked her like, hey, do you know how sports works? She'd be like, ah, man, I don't know. I don't know that. So there's definitely like I kind of try to world build around what I think the character would know the best. Um, because if it's something the character's never going to run into or never going to have any interest in interacting with, you're never going to see it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So why, like, okay, I know that there are good reasons to come up with stuff like that, and I am not in any way knocking authors who do come up with a lot more world building than they ever show. Um, but I do really try to think about making sure that the focus is on what the character sees and interacts with.
No, it makes sense. Emily Inkpen and I, for our February She Wrote interview, she talked about that, and because I always think of like I she just said it in a really good way, so it changed my thinking on it. But she always says like she starts with the character and then world builds from there, because again, like you said, right, like that character interacts with the world, and like why I don't know that whole I used to do that whole iceberg thing where like you only see part of it, but there's all this, and I'm like it's exhausting. And if you're not going to use it, or your character is never going to go to that country or whatever, or I'm looking up, it's like Robert Jordan like had for Brandon Sanderson had like 65 pages of notes on how to make your own bows and arrows, and it's like, well, that's not really relevant, like, and nobody made them, in the book, so it kind of seems like 65 pages of notes for no reason. um Sorry if I just lost the whole Wheel of Time crowd.
Oh, no, it's all good. I
But
mean, I
it's just
think I don't know what. I mean, I'm sure there are Wheel of Time fans who have read the entire 65 pages and are thinking about, oh, maybe I could try and make my own bow and arrow. And massive power to them. I completely can relate. I did read the Silmarillion, so
Oh, okay.
yeah. And that's just an entire Bible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's literally a Bible.
Yeah, that's a good
It's
word
all
for it, a
world building.
Bible. Yeah. We're not going to touch the Lord of the Rings crowd in here, because then I'll
Yeah.
get shut down. So, as seen by my TikToks recently, because they've been like keeping me up there with views and likes and stuff. Them and Star Wars. No, but as a writer now, I'm just like, well, I don't know. I think you only have so much time on your hands, right? And again, like you said, like your character is not gonna go near it, or it doesn't affect them. It does to me seem more and more like a waste of time personally. If that's your process, like that's totally fine. Me, I just find that when everybody says that's what you need to do for sci-fi and fantasy, I'm like, I definitely think that that is not good advice. So I'm glad more and more people are saying, like, go character and then go from there. Because
I know
you know
it's a
who you want, right? Who's
Yeah,
in the
I mean, I
story.
I know
So
it's a style that works really well for some people.
yeah, yeah.
Like I took a class by taught by Fonda Lee actually about world building, and I know she does kind of the iceberg process in many
Yeah, yeah.
ways. And it works. I mean, obviously, it works fantastically for her. Um, but that's not something I'm great at. I think there's always for me a sense of, I want to add the stuff I came up with, and if I've come up with a bunch of cool stuff that is just never going to be able to show up on screen, I'm just always like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't like that.
Yeah.
So I try to not let myself down in that way, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, I didn't know. It totally does. And that's where I just kept getting stuck with a couple books, because well, I have to make the world deeper because I don't have an iceberg. Well, it turns out like I just wasted, 2 years on, these stories, I feel like world building instead of actually worrying about the story and the characters. And like you said, it's not for everybody. I just think that that's again, like something that we keep reiterating with different authors on here is that, if the tool doesn't work for you, move on and find another tool. Not every, I just said that to my volleyball team. I'm like, we're trying to create a toolbox at practice. So during the season, we have a whole toolbox and we can use different tools. And I think that's particularly a good skill set for writers to have, because some days it's just not coming for some reason. So maybe some days you need an iceberg approach, but maybe other days you can not be like the Titanic and, actually avoid the
Yeah.
iceberg, and yeah, but I just think it's important to find, what works for you. But would you say you're
Yeah.
more of a discovery writer then?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, oh gosh, so for my next book, when I started, I wrote like a whole synopsis for it because you have to send a synopsis to your agent.
Yeah.
And then I went off and I wrote the thing, and then I sent it back to her, and I was like, "Hey, so I know I deviated a lot from the synopsis, but," and that's very much my process. But I do a lot of like editing and advice for friends that I know online and just like random people in Discord servers. Because I like helping people. I like helping people out. And like I was talking with somebody recently, and they were like, "Oh, I really want to work on this, but I just haven't finished all my world building yet, and I've been stuck on that for like 2 years." And I was like, "Okay, stop. For starters, give up. Like, just stop whatever you're doing. Stop the world building. Just don't stop there. You're good." And I think some people can really get hung up on that, and I think that
Oh, for
that's
sure.
a challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying too, like with this like Roman military thing I'm doing, I'm like, I was getting caught up at first. Like I didn't write anything in it I've had this idea for like 6 months. Well, I didn't write anything in it because I was getting hung up on the fact that I didn't know X, Y, and Z. Well, then I thought, well, you know what? It really doesn't matter. I got like a bro crew, and then I got this amazing like female warrior character who's gonna come in and like just kick all their butts and show them that, it's a totally different world than they were thinking. And just turning everything on its head with the zombies come in, and I'm like, well, I really just want to talk about this, these main 7 characters. I got about 15 characters, but really it's these main 7, and I want to show their relationships and how they form, and in different things. And I'm like, well, I'm going to worry about that. And I was like, I'll just write crap for the military stuff, and then I'll just give it to somebody, because I could do all the research in the world, but I've known people that takes years. I'm like, I would much rather just find somebody and be like, hey, I'll pay you $200 to go through and fix it, and then I'll actually give it to an editor and call it a day. Like I just think now it's like it's a wasted time for me, because I'm like, I just want to get the story out there and the rough draft going, and I feel like otherwise it just sits there and it doesn't do anything. So yeah, I've definitely been that person who's been there. Like I didn't get anything done for 2 years, not one book or story, because I was world building, because I thought the iceberg or whatever was how you were supposed to do it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean, there are definitely times when I was writing where I would just like bullshit something and know I'd come back to it later.
Mhm.
But I was just like, you know what? I just need to keep moving on.
Yeah, yeah. It's fine to put, like, I know Dirk Ashton like puts really big like asterisks, and says like insert name here, like just doesn't even stop, like just like insert city name here, insert this, and it's a little bit harder, going back, but you're probably going to change it in the editorial process, or going draft 2 or draft 3. So I feel like why not, like if it doesn't throw
Yeah.
you out of the moment, get more writing done, which is probably what I should be doing right now. But for that 6th
That's what
question
all
then.
writers should always be doing.
Well, all I'm saying is, so Scott Ode and I like hit it off really well. So him and I were talking a lot around our 2 interviews, and he's like, "You need to be writing, not doing these interviews." And I'm like, "Scott, I'm interviewing you," and he goes, "I know." He goes, "And you're also keeping me from writing too." And we laughed so hard because I was like, "It's totally true." I was like, "But this is research." He's like, "You just want to talk to writer friends about writing." I said, "Yeah, okay, you caught me." You caught me. So when it comes to gunslingers, who are some characters from books or pop culture who have influenced your main character, Rick?
Oh gosh. Honestly, kind of like the cast of Firefly. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
I mean, primarily, obviously, like Malcolm Reynolds, um, like that sort of. Yeah, I mean, like I feel like a lot of people think like Han Solo, and kind of to an extent, um, but I don't know. Two guns are cool. Uh,
they really are. The John Woo style is really cool,
oh yeah.
particularly in outer space.
This is gonna be so cringe, but Death the Kid from Soul Eater.
Oh, okay, okay. That's gonna be an answer that some of my students that are watching are gonna be like, yeah, like they love the. They always say that they're like the cringe. I'm like, okay, I'm like that's right up their alley. So that's awesome. That's super cool. Gives me a nice conversation starter for tomorrow. I'm like, you would not believe what this author said to me yesterday.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
No, that's cool though. Like yeah, I was curious because when I read your blurb, I was like, oh, I'm just kind of curious at where this idea came from. Um, I know I have like some characters that like I definitely have formed after Zoe from Firefly.
Oh
And
yeah.
Mal, and melded them together. I feel like she's a little bit
Oh,
more
she's
put together
amazing. I
than,
love Zoe.
yeah,
She's fantastic.
that show, I
Everything
feel
she
like,
does.
yeah. Like my friend always says that he'll just like randomly text me, right? It's been a couple of months since he's done it, but he'll randomly text me or message me on Facebook. He'll go, hey, this is your reminder that in some other alternate universe, they got like 10 seasons of Firefly. And then it just like ruins the rest of my day. I'm like, shut up. Oh yeah, that's awesome.
God, I can relate to that.
I know, right? Like and the first time he said it to me, I literally just sat there. Like I sat on my couch, and I remember it was the summertime. So it was like 2 summers ago. I literally just sat there and I just like thought about it for like 38 minutes. And then finally I was like, okay, you can either sit here depressed and just not wanting the world to revolve anymore, or you can just move on and hope that you find something that's as good as Firefly at some point in your life. It has not
Yeah.
happened yet. Some things have come close. So I'm sorry, everybody, but keep trying, right? But my friend said the other day, he goes, yeah, he sent me this article. He goes, yeah, they're going to reboot it. And I was just like, I just watched it for a
No.
couple of days. So
No, you don't reboot Firefly.
yeah.
That's incorrect.
I was so mad.
Like you don't reboot this stuff. Okay, like as much as I love Lord of the Rings, I am not enthused by the Amazon show. One, it looks like a Game of Thrones knockoff, which
That's what
no,
they're aiming for.
a completely incorrect vibe for Lord of the Rings. Second of all, I am so pissed by the fact that they decided to recast Galadriel. No, sorry. No.
It's too soon. I can't talk
No,
about
just straight up
it.
no. Also, the recasting of Elrond, pointless, but that's not as
Yeah.
offensive as the recasting of Galadriel. Also, the fact that it looks like they cast Celebrimbor as like really old and Galadriel is really young, even though they're in the same age range. What
Yeah.
the fuck's
It
up
was
with
weird.
that? This is bullshit. It's all bullshit. I don't like it. What is up with the Star of Fëanor being on Galadriel's armor? That is just factually wrong. What is up? They're like, oh, we're gonna have a dwarf princess, but she has no beard. Cowards.
Yeah.
Cowards.
Well, it's like the Halo TV series or like TV show or whatever. I was like really excited, and then I saw today an article where they said, "Yeah, we didn't even play the video games." I'm like, "What?"
No.
I'm like, "What are you talking
Why?
about?" That's like telling me that you created the entire series, and I'm sorry, like, no offense to Larry Niven or anybody, but like, some things have not aged well. But like, that's like telling me that you didn't read the book at all before creating, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
God,
I
like
don't know.
I saw this interview when the like new Star Trek movies were coming
Oh
out.
yeah.
The Chris Pine ones, where J.J. Abrams was like, "Well, I didn't really like Star Trek," and it's like, okay, then don't make a Star Trek movie. Get the fuck out of here.
That was like something else. He said that about something else recently too, like Star Wars. I think it was
Yeah,
something Star Wars. I'm
well,
like,
he didn't really like Star Wars either.
yeah,
Although I'm gonna be really honest. One, I do not like the Star Wars sequels. They're bad. Um, two, I think J.J. Abrams does unfairly get more flack than he deserves. I think The Force Awakens was a good start and it had promise,
oh
and I think
yeah,
it was definitely kind of a welcome back. Here's where we go type of
yeah.
movie. Um, and with fucking Rise of Skywalker, he was like JJ Abrams was definitely told like, okay, you need to please everybody,
And it's
so you can't
impossible.
make it, it's impossible. It's just like you
Yep.
can't make a good movie if executives are like, here's all the people you have to please.
Yeah.
But J.J. Abrams gets more flack than he deserves because Ryan Johnson came in with The Last Jedi and ruined everything. And
Yeah.
it was a bad movie. That movie
Yeah.
was objectively bad and it ruined where The Force Awakens was
Yeah.
going. And the fact that it turned Finn into comic relief is something I will be pissed about for the rest of time.
He had such a good setup too. Like that's the thing that ticks me off the most, and that's what Brandon Sanderson talked about in a podcast a while back, where or was this channel, and he was like, I still will never get over what they did to Finn, because here you have somebody. Okay, so you have somebody who it looks like is force sensitive, particularly with how they were able to handle, their programming and stuff and get out of it. And it really seemed like after The Force Awakens that it was going to be him and Rey kind of thing, or, and those were going to be like something. And then you have this great character at the start of the movie, and then now he goes off on this random side quest that doesn't have anything to do with the main plot and really doesn't affect the main plot really at all, until he comes back at the end and they fight. And it's like, well, you could have just been doing with them the whole time. Or I didn't like the whole Poe Dameron thing either. Like he just like effed up everything. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I loved Poe in the first movie,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they were just like, ah, nah, let's make him like super like anti-authority for some reason. Also, the fact that at the start of The Force
And
Awakens,
misogynistic
it was
for
so
no reason.
misogynistic.
Yeah, for no
Yeah,
reason. Like,
but like, okay, at the start of The Force Awakens, Finn is like a programmed, trained from birth stormtrooper, and the first time he goes into combat, he's like, "Oh my god, this is so fucked up. I can't do this." And like literally breaks a prisoner out and escapes and then goes on to fight the First Order. And then at the start of The Last Jedi, he's like, "Oh, no, actually, I'm a coward now and I'm about to flee." And I'm like, this is some bullshit. This is rubbish. Ryan Johnson did not watch the first movie. He did not
no.
understand any of the characters. This is rubbish. I
Well, then
don't like any of this.
everybody that also, I'm sorry, but like this is why we have editors, right? Like everybody that got through to that final product should have been like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm like, they always like, my friends like, oh yeah, the trilogy. I'm like, what trilogy? Like the second movie.
There were two
Yeah,
trilogies.
yeah. I'm
There are
like,
two
yeah.
Star Wars trilogies. I don't know where people are thinking
And
the
then a
third one is. There's
duology.
no
Yeah,
third one.
yeah. Then a
Yeah.
duology. Yeah,
There
yeah.
were two trilogies and then there was Rogue One.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's it. There are no other Star Wars films. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
crazy.
just
I
my
mean,
opinion, but
that's fine. I mean, I really like The Force Awakens. I really like it's hard for me though, because I did like The Rise of Skywalker. I like how they did different things from a writer standpoint, because it's like my friend he made a good point. He goes, you like it because you have this pile of crap that was The Last Jedi, and then somehow he was able to form some sort of story by the end and make it somewhat cohesive. And I was like, that's true. I was like, yeah, there were certain things in there I did like though, and I was like, this could have been so flipping good. And yeah, I was very
and yet.
disappointed after The Last Jedi, but I
No,
really
I
do
think
like the TV shows, but like The
oh, I
Mandalorian.
like The Mandalorian. I like
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Mandalorian. No, I think I went into Rise of Skywalker and at the very start, it's like, "Oh, we've found this like Sith Wayfinder." And I'm like, "That's a holocron. Fuck you."
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's hard
Like,
if
get
you
the
read
hell
the
out of here
books.
with that bullshit.
It's hard if you have like, you're like me and you have literally like 150 Star Wars novels on your bookshelf, and then you also have like 500 comic books and graphic novels, and you're just like, holy moly, like there's so
Oh,
much
yeah, no, I'm
material.
here
Like,
for the what is it called now? Legends or something?
I guess, yeah,
If
yeah,
it was written
weird.
by Timothy Zahn, it's canon forever.
Yep. Him. I was just listening to Kevin J. Anderson's another one that like I love. Um, oh my god, I'm totally forgetting what her name is. There's another one too where she wrote a lot of the Rogue One series, like the later ones. She was like absolutely brilliant. I was like, you could have asked these three to write the screenplay or help write the
Right?
screenplay.
And then
Like,
they just didn't.
well,
They
I'm
just
sorry, but you
didn't.
also had the Yuzum Bong stuff, which was really cool, I thought, and like brought like really
Yeah,
cool.
like
Talk about struggle. Like, okay, so
potential.
yeah, like R.A. Salvatore writes the first one, Vector Prime. I can't remember if it was Vector Prime or the second book. And like Luke was, I thought that they did such a great job of making Luke just a total like monster of a Jedi master. And like he goes in and rescues Jacene from this Yuzum Bong camp, and literally like is like, oh, ooh, like lightsabering these guys, and it's like, oh, it's not working. Oh well, and it's just like tearing him up Bruce Lee style and rescues him. And I'm like, that would have made a much better story, even if he was Mark Hamill's age now, than like whatever. Like, I don't know. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you just wasted this. Like, I didn't like how they did Anakin Solo in it, or Jaina at the end. But I mean, at least at the beginning, like they could have at least changed those things and left Chewbacca alive. That was a horrible thing that RA did that I'll never forgive him for. But yeah, I just think there's so much source material. And I know that part of the problem is there's so much source material, but I think you should have got somebody. I think that's the thing that's different with Dune though. Like Dune had people that, like the director for Dune, I heard, or it was either the director or executive producer, like spent a year and a half drawing and figuring out how the sandworms were going to look. Like that's somebody that took the time and energy to value what other people love. And I didn't feel that with this trilogy.
Yeah,
I
no,
felt
not at
like
all.
I felt like it was the opposite, in fact. So like we just want to make money off of it, and you know, try and make money off of this legacy. And it really made me look down on Hasbro and and Disney quite a bit. I was like, yeah, you gave us Marvel, but you also just tanked this franchise. We could have been really good.
Yeah.
So.
No, in my opinion, there are four canon pieces of Star Wars media, and I'm going to go in chronological order here. One, the KOTOR games and half of SWOTOR. The first half of SWOTOR, the second half of SWOTOR, once you got to coffee, it just started sucking from there on, and it's terrible now. And I know that's just my opinion, but I am objectively correct. Two, uh, the Clone Wars TV show.
Mm,
I love Ahsoka. She's amazing.
yeah. Oh, yeah, amazing.
Three, anything Timothy Zahn wrote. Four, Skippy the Force sensitive droid. Canon in my heart forever.
I forgot about that.
Anyway, those are the four pieces of media for Star Wars that will always be canon and are indeed
Well,
the best canon.
I mean, but you have guys like you have so many great Jedi, you have so many great characters. I mean, it's just like I'm thinking of like Kirk Canis, like there's just so many there's just so many I can't even think of them, from just like the 90s really to really until they decided this whole thing. And I'm like, you just had so many cool characters, and I don't know. I'm like amazing writers, amazing, comics writers, video game, Kyle Katarn's another one, like classic. It's like, I really think, and now that they're doing the Mandalorian, and I know some people are mixed about Book of Boba Fett. I like seeing different things that came up from it, though. I definitely think season 2 will be better.
Yeah, my problem with Book of Boba Fett is that
Wasn't really the
half of
Book of
it's
Boba
not even about Boba
Fett.
Fett.
Yeah.
Like there were like 2 episodes where he's like in it for about half a second in the background of one of them and says nothing, and I'm like, this is rubbish.
Yeah. It's well,
You're
what
gonna
they
name
should
your
have done.
character Book of Boba
Yeah,
Fett, make it about Boba Fett. I
yeah.
mean,
They
come
should have
on.
renamed the show. They should have done like like something like it should have been like I don't know, like Tatooine or something. Battle for Tatooine.
Yeah.
I don't know, like something different, or like Rise of the Mandalorians or something. I don't know, like
Yeah,
yeah.
there were so many like potential things you could have done, but don't name your show Book of Boba Fett and then not make it about Boba
Well,
Fett. Like that's just some bullshit.
Well, it's like if you're like, oh I'm doing this other series, and here's my main character, and then she's never in it, and you're like, you would lose. You would literally. This is why they lost viewers, and I haven't even finished the last episode because I'm like, okay, I will do it, but it's like it's not pressing for me because I haven't felt a that continuality, and it's like, I feel like for continuity's sake, it's like you would have to have chapter to chapter, and even if the character is out for a little bit, you'd have to have a secondary character trying to find them. It just, I don't know, it just, or something, it just didn't seem to make sense. Like we would never get away with that in a book. So it just
Oh no, not at all.
seems weird that they would do that for the television show, but it makes me
Yeah,
excited
it
for
was.
Mandalorian season 3, but
Yeah, right. Wait, don't you mean Book of Boba Fett? I thought that was Mandalorian season 3.
I shared that meme recently. I got like, I don't even know, like on TikTok, like I think I'm up to like 8,000 like views or something like that, and like 2,000 likes. Like everybody felt the same way. It was pretty funny. So this one I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
How many books do you plan in this current universe with these characters like Rig?
None.
None. Okay.
So um I feel like where I have ended it for Rig is kind of a satisfying resolution to her character
Mm.
arc. And, it's like we're saying, every book needs some kind of conflict.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I went back for a sequel and was like, oh, you have problems to deal with again, it would kind of
Yeah.
cheapen the ending of the
Yeah.
first
Yeah. Yeah.
one. Um, if I ever did write anything in the same universe, I would probably focus on other characters and have Rig just like, do a cameo or something.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, just like, make up a new cast, but in the same universe. But currently, I have no plans of doing that. Um, the book that I'm currently hoping to put on submission at some point is actually a rewrite of that vampire thing I did
Oh,
forever
cool.
ago. So that's what I'm doing after that, or that's what I'm doing now. The next thing that I've started working on is kind of like a magical murder mystery.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
like about a month ago, I woke up at like 8 a.m. Uh, and which is a time I don't normally wake up at. My sleep schedule is like 3 a.m. to like whenever the fuck I wake up, like 11 or something. Um, I woke up at 8 a.m. I listened to the same song on repeat for like, I don't know, 5 hours.
Been there.
And it was a great song. Footfalls for
Mm.
Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker,
Oh, that's cool.
spectacular, 10 out of 10. Great game, go play it. Uh, So I listened to that on repeat for hours, and I wrote like a 6,000 word outline for a
Oh
six
wow.
book series that I would love to write at some point, and that's like very fantasy. But series are hard to sell, so
Yeah, yeah.
don't know if that's ever gonna happen.
Yeah, it's crazy where like it like for it is weird. Like I was just talking to somebody else about that and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do a duology. And I'm like, okay. They're like, yeah, that was a lot easier to sell. And whereas then like I feel like certain indie authors I talk to, they're like, oh, I'm doing a series. I'm like, okay. And I was talking to some readers and stuff recently, and I'm like, so what do you look for? And some were like, yeah, I like standalones. And somebody else was like, yeah, because I, wanted to be able to move on. And like you said, right, with Bluebird, like I feel like the characters are there and the story's there and I'm done and I want to move on to somebody else. And I like started kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, what do I like? But I guess I worry with like my own stuff is like I really like Kelly McCullough like has the Fallen Blade series, amazing. Everybody should go check it out. Got just amazing characters all around, and the main character has this like shadow dragon from another realm, and their relationship. I interviewed Kelly at one point, and I was like, Kelly, you got 7 books. I need 9 at least, if not 19. And he's like, oh, or he had 6 books, and he's like, yeah, I'm actually going to be doing like another trilogy. And I was like, okay,
Oh hell
cool.
yeah!
Yeah, and I'm like, that's the kind of thing that scares me. Like, I'm worried I'm gonna love a character so much and I'll only get like 3, because that's happened to me a couple of times. I'm like I offered one author, Clayton Snyder. Actually, I was teasing him. I said I want it to be like the old Renaissance, where like a patron, but like not Patreon. Like I'm just your patron. Like I will pay you, $3,000 if you write me another book and this series and with this character and give me the ending that I deserve. I think I finally poked the bear enough where he might actually write another one for his Cold West. It's like a mix of the Wild West and fantasy and sci-fi, like all rolled in
Oh
one.
awesome!
It was absolutely brilliant. It wasn't very long, so I was teasing myself like, yeah, I need another one. But yeah, I was just curious because I know some people have said the same thing, and I think that it's important when you're planning, particularly when you're outlining and things. I'm trying to make everything a trilogy just because I'm going to just do self-publishing. But like Warbreaker with Brandon Sanderson, I want another one so bad. It was so good. Like it was one of my favorite books like I've ever read. And here we are, like 8 years later, and he put one of 3 or whatever, and there's no other
Yep.
book yet, and I'm just like chomping at the bits. But yeah, we talked at a private meeting I had with some friends, and recently, kind of like our own little writers group thing, and we were talking about that and trying to plan and things. And I'm like, I think sometimes it's hard because you don't really know where that story is going to go, and it's definitely important to think about. But sometimes those
Mhm.
characters, they have minds of their own, and they don't care if you say yes or no. So
Oh yeah, no,
always
I mean,
fun.
I definitely think that this weird 6 book series idea I have would probably work best as like a 6 season TV show. Um,
Ooh,
but that's hard to sell.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh, yeah, that I don't even that might be harder to sell even than just a book series. I don't
yeah, yeah.
know. But that would be sort of, I think it's ideal format.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be interesting
But
if you
yeah.
if you did a screenplay for it or had somebody help you and then sold it. That'd be
Well,
interesting.
see, I'm not a screenplay writer. Like I would have to kind of learn the sort of medium and format for that because it is
Yeah, yeah.
different formatting. It
Oh, yeah,
is a
yeah,
different style. So I would definitely have to learn a new skill if I ever wanted to do that. And
yeah.
I don't, my area of expertise question mark um is in traditional publishing. I don't really know all that much about breaking into the screenwriting industry, so if I ever wanted to do that I would need a lot of help from other
Yeah, yeah.
people.
I just thought it was interesting how many people said the same thing, and then my friend, he was like, "Yeah, I just found like he just made friends with some different screenwriters, and he found one, and they're like they've been working away." And it's funny because I know different people, like Raymond Feist, I believe was one, or somebody I saw recently who was like a older fantasy writer who did that, and then there were a couple of sci-fi ones too. And I was surprised at how many TV shows people are now gonna have start popping up. But because like they didn't write them themselves, like they just found somebody and then they just like collabed. And I just thought like that's interesting to to see that more and more, particularly with the rise of like we were saying, like the different Netflix shows and Amazon Prime and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But I'm like, please, please, please make more shows about books that I enjoy. I'm like, but do it the right way. Like, and I think that's
Oh
the main
yeah,
thing.
I can completely relate to that.
Yeah. Well, that's like Percy Jackson. I'm excited for them to have another go around at that one because I really like
Yep.
that series. But yeah. So do you have any news, updates, promos, current projects, or anything like that that you can share with
Um,
us,
let's see.
or secret projects that you can allude to?
Oh, secret projects, vampires, I guess. Um, secret project is the current thing I'm working on is vampires. It's very pseudo Victorian Gothic.
Oh, that's cool.
Uh, it's got a bunch of sword fights. It's got a bunch of polyamory. It's basically a big escape room,
Oh, that's
um,
cool.
with a protagonist who is a feral, angry, compulsive liar, filled with murderous rage. Um, yeah, that's
Sounds awesome.
kind of what that is. Big escape room with vampires. Thing I'm writing next, which I have no synopsis for, and I'm just messing around with, is like a magical murder mystery, very Agatha Christie whodunit, um, but featuring basically a door to hell in the basement, um, and crazy magic shit that definitely not at all 0% is inspired by the way ninjutsu works in Naruto. No inspiration there whatsoever.
No crossover.
Absolutely not. Not at all. Not even slightly. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now. Um, I'm trying to do more art for Bluebird because I haven't had the chance to do a lot of art lately, and it really sucks. Uh, Also started doing Final Fantasy 14 fan art. Let us not judge me for that one. Uh, and yeah, that's most of what I've been doing. I'm trying to start like dipping my toes, I guess, into like I really want to go into doing freelance editing actually.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
I'm kind of trying to figure that out because I've done so much editing for other people, like people I don't even know. Like I
Yeah.
enjoy that. Um and you know, as much as I think every writer needs their own editor, I do think I'm good at editing other people's work. Like I'm very good at having that like impartial eye, I guess. So I'm getting my website set up
Oh,
to
that's cool.
hopefully start start offering editing, and I'm trying to figure out some like promotion stuff for that. um I'm still working on figuring out prices. Obviously, I am relatively inexperienced, so I have to price very cheaply, um, which I mean just makes sense. That's
Yeah,
just kind
yeah,
of how it is, objective
yeah.
fact. So I'm still trying to figure that bit out. But hopefully, in the next couple weeks or so, my website will reflect that. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing.
Oh, that's cool. I've like Sarah Chorn does that where like she's edits and then she has her own books and I know like she just I know a few editors that are writers as well that that do that, like they edit everybody else's and then send theirs off to somebody else. Like one of them I
Yeah.
talked to recently in a private conversation, she was like, you would think that I'd be better at writing and editing my own stuff after I've done
No,
other
you
books.
always need a separate editor for your own
Yeah.
stuff because there's so many things that like you know it in your head. So you
Yeah.
forget to put it on the page and
Oh
you
yeah.
need somebody else to come in and be like, "Hey, you're missing this." You know, you need somebody to tell you to kill your darlings. Like you always need a more impartial eye. You always
Yeah.
need that no matter who you are, how good you are, or at least that's my opinion. Um
No, I
but
totally agree.
yeah, but I mean, I've just done so much editing for other people over the past few years. And I was like, I find this fun. I'm good at it. Money?
Yeah,
We live in a
please.
capitalist society.
Yeah.
I need a
Money,
job.
please.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm trying to dip my toes into right now. So yeah, if anybody likes my work, hopefully in a couple weeks or so, hopefully sooner, but you know, who knows? My website will be updated to reflect that.
Oh, that's cool. Well, make sure, yeah, like make sure you send me anything. You want to tag me in anything on social media for myself, and then like Twitter or anything like that, or Facebook, whatever. You just send it to me, and I'll make sure that I get it out to people.
Oh hell
Whenever
yeah,
you're ready, I'll just be like, hey, by the way, Seal said this. Like, so yeah, we'll send as many people your way as we possibly can. So that's awesome. That's
hell
super
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, self-publishing is becoming bigger and bigger. But with traditional publishing, once you get a book deal, you have an editor. But for self-publishing, you have to find one.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You have to
totally.
go looking. So I think there's definitely an increasing market for just like freelance fiction editors because so many people are going the self-publishing route.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, especially with even before the pandemic, I feel like things are, pretty slow. Like Scott Drakeford was like almost like a 3-year process from book signing to now when his book Rise of the Mages like just came out. And and I know some people who are like me who are just like, I just want to get it out there. And there are some other reasons, for like, I don't mind certain costs and things like that. I feel like costs and benefits, like I'm going to rapid release and do things differently. And I don't want to just do like one thing and then wait a year. Like I'm like writing this summer to get things set aside. So I've been listening to Lindsay Broker's podcast, Joel Lalo's, for like a long time, probably like 3 or 4 years. So I got things pretty much situated. But I definitely think that if you want to go a little bit quicker, you write quicker. Like I write pretty quickly when I actually can sit down with things.
Oh God, same.
My friend was like,
I write too fast. I write
yeah,
way too fast, not gonna lie.
that's funny.
So remember how I was like I started writing fan fiction back in like spring of 2016. So I started writing a fan fiction in 2016. I ended up giving up on it about 400,000 words
Whoa.
in 2018 because that's when I started writing my vampire thing. And then uh in like spring 2018, I went back to this fan fiction and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to kind of scrap what I had but take the general idea and start writing something else." And then recently, like within the past couple months, I finished it and it is 1.4 million words.
That's crazy.
And keep in mind, I wrote 2 original novels during this point in time.
That's crazy.
So I write very quickly,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's
very too
crazy.
quickly. I write too fast. Not
Wow,
gonna
that's
lie, I write
nuts.
too fast.
That's a lot of words. Like that is a lot of words. I thought I wrote a lot of words. You wrote a lot of words.
I write so many words. It's a lot.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, like,
It's
my
a bit
friend
of
was
a
like,
yikes.
my friend goes, "How on earth do you?" So he was like, "Oh, he's like, oh, in an hour I finished that chapter." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I was like, like 2,500, 2,800 words. I was like, "I'll just go back to it later." He was like, "That's what I did like all week." I'm like, "All right, well," I'm like, now I'm like slowed down because of work. I think I'm at like maybe like 100 words a day right now, and I just keep telling myself, just make it to the summertime. I'm like, because it'll go back up again. I'm like, even 100 words, like I've gotten like 6,000 words for my outline, and some notes and stuff, some discovery character stuff and stuff for this thing I'm doing. I'm like, well, it's better than having zero, like, because that's
Yeah.
never want to go back to
N-
doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, I mean, I
1.5, that's
definitely
crazy.
like I write fast, I think in part because I'm very good at just doing writing sort of throughout the day. Like
Mm.
if I'm doing classwork, I'll just occasionally just tab out, do some writing. If I'm, playing video games, I'm waiting in queue for matches, writing time. Um, just like constant constant background writing. I think one summer when I was just like really cranking out Bluebird, so summer of 2019, um, I basically decided to kind of make that my job. Um, just like, really get it out there. And I started counting words, and I was basically writing twice the speed of NaNoWriMo.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Um, like I was writing uh, about 2,000, upwards of 2,000 words every single day, pretty much,
Wow.
for like a month and a half straight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I go quickly. It is not always a boon.
Yeah, yeah,
It is
yeah.
not always a good thing.
Definitely know that feeling. I'm trying to get better
Yeah,
at outlining so that when I do that, it's like I can actually finish something for a draft instead of having to be like, because I'll write half of it, like 35,000 words pretty quickly. And then I'm like, wait, what was I doing here? And then I have to go back. And that's like the thing that's helped me out the most. So I'm just like definitely trying to get better at it. But it's definitely nice if you could write faster. But then if you don't know what you're doing, you have to like fix it. And I feel it's
then you
about the
have to
same time.
also edit fast, which
That
is
too,
always
yeah.
the hard part.
I'm so slow at editing. It's not even funny. All right. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, Seal. It was really great to talk to you. You got me really interested in Lord of the Rings fan fiction now.
Okay, I have to promo a Lord of the Rings fan fiction because
Oh, please.
I dedicated Bluebird to the author of this fan fiction
Oh,
because
that's
it was
cool.
so inspirational and is one of the greatest things I've ever read in my life. Okay, so this Lord of the Rings fan fiction is called Sansuk. It's very easy to find because if you go to Archive of Our Own and go to the Lord of the Rings section and you just decide to search by kudos, it is the very first fic that shows up.
Oh, that's
It is
cool.
it's incredible. It's amazing. It's it is somehow so canon compliant and yet
Wow.
also so different from canon. Um, it's got all the stuff that I missed from Lord of the Rings. It's got all the
Yeah.
gay stuff. It's got like more female characters on
Oh, that's
screen.
awesome.
It's got so much dwarf world building, which
Oh,
I
that's
love so
cool.
much. It's amazing. I highly recommend. I feel like I recommend this to every single person who says, "Oh yeah, I like Lord of the Rings." I'm like, "You have to read this goddamn fan fiction.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
amazing, incredible, spectacular."
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely have to check that out. I feel like that's what I need in my life right now. So, well, that's really cool. Once I find that, I'll actually put the link in, and we'll put that in the description too. That way, we can send more people that way. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time. To our audience, make sure you go and check out the description. Per always, you guys have been coming for a long time, so I assume you guys know where you're going. But just in case you don't know, Spotify, YouTube, RSS.com, you can find Seal's books, links, all the social medias, things like that in those descriptions. So make sure you go and do that. The first one will be her website where you can find her book. Thank you so much again, Seal. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Any other time you want to come on and talk about fan fiction or writing or, Star Trek, trash some Star Wars like The Last Jedi, that's totally fine with me. You just let
Yeah,
me know and we'll
thank you
make
so
it
much for
happen.
having me. It's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
great.
Anytime, anytime. We have a good rest of the day and I will talk to you later, my friend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.